In this lecture, we're going to talk about how to paint subsurface scattering. Now, subsurface scattering is when light shines through an object, but instead of reflecting off, some of it goes into the object and bounces around inside and then comes out the other end diffused. So a great example of this would be when you hold a flashlight up to your ear or someone standing in bright sunlight and their ear looks like it's glowing red or orange, and it's because the light is going through, bouncing around, hitting off all the blood vessels and coming out the other side looking a little bit red or orange, okay? So we're going to talk about how to paint that, and this is a technique that can be applied to flesh, creepy ooze monsters, fruit, right? So let's go over how we get here, okay? So we're starting with just this basic cube. It kind of has a fleshy look to it, okay? That's what we're gonna start with. You can go ahead and download the file, okay? This one's gonna be really simple. So first we make a new layer. We set this layer to overlay, okay? Next, I'm going to select the cube so we're not painting outside the lines. Come back to our overlay layer. And then we're going to pick a really bright red color. I'm gonna make sure I have my soft airbrush selected. And I'm imagining that the light is coming from behind the cube, and typically this effect looks best when it's showing through on the shadow side. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to really lighten it up on this side here. I'm going to pick a deeper, darker red and lightly brush that in on this side as well. Okay, and I'm going to basically try and cover up this whole side of the cube. And you can kind of go back and forth between these and figure out where it needs more or less. And you can kind of work in a few, different shapes, like maybe there's muscle or bone or whatever underneath here, right? The more you break it up, the more it will kind of show the consistency of it, that there's some stuff going on inside there. Okay, all right, so that looks about good. Now it's a little bit strong, so we're just going to go ahead and lower the opacity to about 85%, give or take. And then I'm also going to use my soft airbrush to just erase away the edges just a tad all the way around, okay? Now that looks pretty good. It does look like there's some, light shining through and glowing, but in order for it to really sell it, we need to have that light coming from behind. So I'm gonna make a new layer that's underneath the cube. This one's just gonna be set to normal. We're gonna get a nice bright light source. I'm gonna go with something cool to contrast everything else. Bring up my soft airbrush, pretty big, and we're just gonna throw a nice spotlight right back there behind the cube. And it does a pretty good job of making it feel like it's being lit from behind and causing this cube to get some subsurface scattering going on in there. So that's it. That's how you do this one. It's pretty simple, right? It's not very hard, doesn't take a lot of work. And really, it just comes down to knowing what your object is and how much is going to be shining through and so on and so forth. Remember, this only really happens when the subject is being lit from behind, right? If the light was on the opposite side, this wouldn't really be showing up, okay? So keep that in mind. Use it sparingly. That's it for this lecture, and I'll see you guys in the next one.